Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto becomes the new Overlord, part 2, hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. Naruto was sweating, as he went through the training exercise that Hiruzen had written for him. Several hundred yards away construction of his castle, as well as the first steps in forming a city were underway. Using the knowledge from the books Hiruzen gave him, as well as his knowledge he gained from pranks on Konoha, Nat knowledge from her time with the Grey who named her, as well as Tinbeard, the leader of the dwarfs, the plans for the castle were created. The walls around the courtyard that now was twice the size the one the Browns had made originally were built first. They were now 10 feet thick and 50 feet high. Each wall was reinforced with 3 sets of metal rods that were linked together to make it stronger. There was a gateway with a drawbridge, as well as a metal-spiked metal gate, with 1 foot wide gaps between each section. On each side of the gate was a guardhouse with one guardhouse controlling the drawbridge, while another guardhouse controlled the metal gate. The walls had stone spikes on each side of the walls, so that if anyone were to attack the guards on top of the walls, the guards could hide behind the spikes, and then counter-attack when they could if they had a long-range weapon. At each corner of the castle walls that was in a square shape around the courtyard was a watchtower that went a total of 20 feet higher than the castle walls. In the middle of each wall was also a guardhouse that was the same height as the watchtowers. On top of each watchtower was a catapult that could be used to launch boulders at enemy armies. With the help of storage seals that Naruto learned from the book the Sandaime gave him. Each catapult had 50 boulders that were around 6 feet wide that could be launched one at a time. On each boulder was an exploding seal that would activate, causing it to explode, sending shrapnel into anyone around the area when it hit the ground. The walls also had a single guardhouse between each watchtower, and between the watchtower and the gatehouses that could hold up to 30 men easily, while the gatehouses could hold 15 men, and the watchtower could hold 40 men, since living areas for future guards were set up in each of them. Outside the castle walls, the ground that once was cleared now looked like a strip mining operation, as a moat over 40 feet deep and the 30 feet wide now existed in the ground from where stones and the metals were dug up to be used in construction. The courtyard itself had the beginning of the castle started in it, with the castle outside walls now being 200 yards wide, while the distance between the castle walls and the courtyard walls was another 300 yards from each other in every direction. As Naruto got up off the ground from doing push-ups, he saw a dwarf come running in his direction, and the dwarf went to one knee and said, "Your Majesty, Lady Nori has sent me to inform you that someone has arrived at the castle to speak with you." Naruto blinked and said, "Who is it that wishes to speak with me?" The dwarf said, "It's the warlock Minato." Naruto's eyes widened, and he paled slightly, and thought, what's going on? Why is he here? I think I should get Gigi. I told Nori I will be there shortly. I wish to freshen up a little before meeting our guests since I was training. Naruto watches, as the dwarf nods, and then runs back to the castle, and Naruto says Porto. Before he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto appeared in the Sandaime office who went wide-eyed a moment, as did the other people in his office, and the Sandaime frowned, and said, "Naruto, not that I'm not glad to see you but, as you can see I am in a very..." Naruto interrupted Hiruzen, and said, "It's him, Gigi. He came looking for me." In a scared tone. Hiruzen blinked, and then asked, "Who is Naruto?" Naruto looked nervous while the others in the room looked between Naruto and the Sandaime, and one of them said, "Hiruzen, shouldn't you send this boy away so we can continue our meeting?" And Naruto turned and said, "Look, I know this meeting is probably important, since I know you're the elders of Konoha, but Gigi told me to avoid the guy who came looking for me. He gave me specific orders to avoid this guy. Do you understand? Specific orders to avoid him." Hiruzen's eyes widened as he realized who Naruto was speaking about, and then paled and said, "Are you sure, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Yes, Nori is stalling him right now, but I don't know how long she can keep him busy, and I can't leave her and the others there to get her defeats." Hiruzen said, "That's enough, Naruto. I understand you did the right thing by coming to me. Kaheru. I am afraid that I am going to have to cancel this meeting shortly." Kaheru saw the look on Hiruzen's face, and said, "Hiruzen, as one of the elders of Konoha, I am forced to ask that you inform us what is going on because..." Hiruzen said, "Enough, Kaheru, I know that you have a right to know what is going on, but..." Naruto said, "Fuck it." As a cage bunshin appeared beside both elders, and the Hiruzen, and all 4 Naruto in the room said Porto, and the room was covered in smoke. When the smoke cleared no one was in the Hokage office. As the group arrived in Naruto Castle, the 2 elders blinked, and they looked around wide-eyed seeing themselves in a place they had never been before while Hiruzen frowned, and they said, "You need to learn patience, Naruto." Naruto said, "Well sorry, but time moves differently here, and I'm not sure how much time has passed." "Nat!" Naruto shouted loudly. The elders went wide-eyed, as they saw Nat come running from the side of the courtyard, and they both reached for hidden weapons when Hiruzen placed his hands on their shoulders, causing both to turn, and to look at him, and Hiruzen said, "I'll explain later, but do not do anything stupid. She's an ally for now." Nat, who had come running excitedly when she heard Naruto shout, stopped in front of Naruto, and said, "Your Excellency, you have returned." Lady Nori is currently with the warlock waiting for you. Naruto bit his lip, and then looked at Hiruzen, who said, Nat, would you please escort us to see him? Nat looked from Hiruzen to Naruto, who nodded, and then said, right this way, sire. As she began to lead them away, Hiruzen placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder, and said, relax, Naruto. Naruto said, how can I relax when I know that I might die in a few minutes? Both elders went wide-eyed hearing Naruto's words, and they both looked at Hiruzen, who said, all will be explained soon. Just keep your eyes open, and their mouths closed. As they followed Nat, who entered one of the doors that lead to one of the guard towers, and Hiruzen said, you've been busy, Naruto. Naruto smiled slightly, and said, yeah, after I returned, and I had the knowledge of those books you gave me shoved into my head. I knew the old walls wouldn't work, so after speaking with Nat and the Nori, I learned about the dwarfs who are master blacksmiths, and I went to meet them, and you could say the rest is history. As he rubbed his head, Hiruzen said, I see well. I am impressed with what you have done. Nat stopped in front of a door, and said, in here, my lord. Naruto nods, and the Nat opens the door, and both Koharu and the Hamaru eyes widen, as they see who was standing in the room, while Hiruzen bites his lip. In the room were Minato, Kushina, Tinbeard, and Nori. Nori, seeing Naruto, said, ah, your lordship. You returned. Kushina looked at the group curiously, while Minato had his eyes glued on Naruto, as he stood outside the door, and Hiruzen said, I'm told that you might not remember your life. Do you? Minato interrupted him, and said, I remember you, Hiruzen, as well as you, Koharu, and the Hamaru. Hello, Naruto. Naruto gulped, and said hi. Minato turned to Kushina, who said, Minato, is he? Minato nodded, and Kushina turned, and said, hello, son. Naruto's eyes widened before he said son, as he looked at everyone in the room in shock. Hiruzen sighed, and then said to Naruto, this is your mother Kushina Uzumaki, and her husband, your father, Minato Namikaze. Naruto's eyes went wide before they rolled into the back of his head, as he passed out. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself in his room with Nori resting her head on his shoulder, and Naruto rubbed his head, and said, what happened? Nori, hearing Naruto's words, said, sire, you're awake. Naruto said, not so loud, Nori. My head is killing me right now. Nori said, you did hit your head pretty hard when you collapsed. Naruto blinked, and then looked, and then asked what happened. Nori said, you met your parents, and then passed out. Tinbeard has spread the word that you are the son of the warlock, and that their respect for you has only increased. Naruto groaned, and said, damn it, that way I can't think straight right now. Nori placed her hand on his chest, and said, just calm down, and then take a few breaths to clear your head. Naruto did, as Nori suggested, and then said, thank you, Nori. I feel a little calmer now. I need to speak with Gigi. Can you please get him for me? Nori nodded, and said, by your command, sire. As she got up, and then quickly left the room. Naruto got up, and then moved to a small slit in the room that allowed sunlight and the fresh air into the room, and sat down looking outside. A few minutes later there was a knock on the door to his room before it opened, and Hiruzen stepped in, closed the door, and then he said, I know you have many questions, and I can only guess how you feel about Naruto. I'll tell you everything, and then tell you why I didn't inform you sooner if you will remain calm, and then listen to me. Naruto frowned, and said to Gigi, I feel betrayed, and I don't know how I can trust you or what you say anymore. Why didn't you tell me? Hiruzen said, your father had a lot of enemies in the world. You know how people react to you because of the Kyuubi. That made your life hard, I know, but most of those respected me, and my position enough not to actually harm you physically. There was nothing I could do about the emotional damage they were doing to you besides try, and to be there for you, and to become a grandfather figure for you to give you the best life I could. But if I would have told you who your parents were or told the village who your parents were, then other nations would have sent assassin after you. And then unlike the people of Konoha, they wouldn't have listened to me. I did everything I could in order to protect you, and then try to let you live as normal a life as I could. I admit I made mistakes, but no matter how powerful I am or what position I have, I will sometimes make a mistake. Sometimes it costs someone to feel pain and the suffering, sometimes it sends people to their death. All I can do is do what I think is best, and pray that I did the right thing. Naruto, who had turned to look at him, looked back out the window, and said, were you ever going to tell me about my parents or the Kyuubi? Hiruzen said, I had a plan to tell you about the Kyuubi when you made it, and then tell you about your parents when you made Chunin, so you could better defend yourself should your parents' enemies find out. Mizuki just beat me by telling you about Kyuubi, and then you haven't gotten strong enough to beat Chunin yet. Naruto sighs, feeling a lot of his anger at Hiruzen fade, and then says, why did he use me to seal the Kyuubi in? Hiruzen said, there are several reasons he used you. The first is that he is an honorable man. He could not ask someone else to do something if he himself was not willing to do it first. The next reason is because the Uzumaki clan, which I was going to tell you about when I informed you about your parents, had a special chakra that makes it where they are perfect to become Jinchurikis. The Shadame Hokage wife, Mito Uzumaki Senju, was Kyuubi first Jinchuriki, and your own mother was the second Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi. Something happened the night you were born that caused your mother to release the Kyuubi. I don't know what it was, but Minato has said he will explain it when you are present, because he said he has much to talk to you about Naruto. I'm not going to ask you to forgive your father, but I ask that you give him a chance to explain himself to you. Naruto closed his eyes and said, can I have a few minutes alone? I need to think. Hiruzen nodded, and said to Naruto, no matter what happens or what you do, know that I am proud of you. Before he turns, and then leaves the room. Hiruzen returned to the room where Minato, Koharu, Himeru, Kushina, Nori, and the Tinbeard were all sitting around a table, and Minato asked how is he. Hiruzen said he's confused. Minato, I did my best to make his life as normal as I could, but the emotional pain that he has been forced to endure is more than many of those who took their own lives after the last war ended. Tinbeard said, if I may ask Warlock, why have you come here now? Naruto, who stepped into the room, said, that is what I would like to know also. Everyone turned, and they saw Naruto. His face looked to be made of stone with how motionless it was. Minato said, the night you were born, a masked man attacked your mother, and me. He used you as a hostage, and threw you in the air with an exploding tag on your baby blanket. I rescued you, but in the moment it took for me to rescue you, the masked man took your mother, and released the Kyuubi on Konoha. I'll skip talking about the man for now because it's not important to know. Besides, the man is still alive, and he retreated when I fought him to rescue your mother. Your mother and the I were able to stop Kyuubi rampage, and the I summoned the Shinigami to aid me in sealing not only the Kyuubi in you, but also your mother's soul, so that when the time was right she could meet you, and aid you in learning to use the Kyuubi power. I also sealed a piece of my own soul just in case the seal ever broke, so I could reset it to save you. I used to say that I would be sealed away forever in the Shinigami's stomach, as payment for summoning him. What happened is far worse. Hiruzen said, what do you mean, Minato? Minato said, I don't know how much you know about this world, but time here passes differently than it does the world you all live in. For every minute there 4 minutes pass here. For you it has been 14 years since I fought the Kyuubi. For me it's been 56 years. Everyone's eyes widened, and Minato said, in that time I've learned a lot about this world, as well as many secrets about the world you are all from. One thing you should know is when a person dies, based on what their lives will like, their bodies are changed. Tinbeard here, as well as Nat, are perfect examples of what I mean, but one important thing to know is when a person dies in the human world, they forget everything they knew when they are reborn here, with the exception of some who know their name. Not all, but some. When the Shinigami sent me here, he made it where I can't die, and he also made it where I remember everything from the human world. You all saw Kushina look at Naruto earlier with confusion. The reason she was confused was because she has no memory of her life in the human world, and besides, what I told her knows nothing about being Naruto's mother. She also didn't know me. Imagine living in a world where everyone who knew you can't remember you all these years. I've gathered info on everything about this world I could, trying to learn how to find my wife and the son. It was through this searching that I found a way to have Naruto in my life again, as well as his mother, but to do it, I had to bring Naruto here. Everyone's eyes widened, and Naruto said, you brought me here. Minato said, yes. I learned how to make someone an overlord by researching a man the elemental nations know as the Sixth Realm Sage, but to those here he was known as the King of the Six Kingdoms. Everyone's eyes widened, but for different reasons, and Himeru said, what does he have to do with anything? Minato said, many years ago, there was a creature of pure evil whose name in this world was long forgotten, but in the human world he was called the Jubi. Jubi devoured everyone, and the everything in its path of destruction, and it would have most likely destroyed all life in both worlds, had it not been for the actions of one. Minato took a sip of water, and said, before the sage first appeared when a person was born, another version of them was born here, and they looked human, and based on the life they lived in the other world, would change them to look like other creatures. The sage's twin, you could say, that lived in this world feared being killed by the Jubi, and began to search for a way to save himself. He learned of a way to flee from this world to the human world where he met his other self. When he did, he explained to his other self about the Jubi, and they figured the only way to survive was to combine their knowledge and the power. They both went to a shrine maiden who used her spiritual powers to merge both of them together. Now think of this. In this world, physical bodies mean very little because basically everything here is connected to the spirit. Now in the human world it's the reverse, but when you mix both physical and spiritual energy, what do you get? Koharu said, chakra. Minato nodded before he yawned, and then said, sorry, haven't slept in nearly a week anyways. As I was saying, the sage now had the ability to use chakra, and with his combined knowledge from both worlds, made all the magic and the spirit base from this world magnified many times over. With this knowledge he was able to battle the Jubi and kill it, but you can't truly kill a spirit. All you can do is change it, store it, or absorb it, so he sealed it into his own body, turning him into the first Jinchuriki, but also making him immortal, and that I don't mean he can't be killed. I mean that he would never die of old age when I say immortal. He became a god in human form to both this world and the human world, and he began to teach humans how to connect with their spiritual side, more giving them the ability to use chakra, but this changed their spirit. Instead of having a human-like twin in this world when you are born, your spirit form has been changed into what this world calls minions, which is what Nat here is. As he pointed to Nat, Himeru said, are you saying that when we die, we become that? Pointing at Nat. Minato said, no, what I am saying is that while you are living in the human world, your spirit form that lives here is a minion. Now the only reason I am telling you this is because I have searched this world, and I found my son's minion. Shinigami when he told me my punishment turned the shard of my soul in Naruto into a tower heart, and no, I'm not explaining what a tower heart is. Anyways, I figured out a way to summon my tower heart to this world, and since it was sealed inside Naruto I was able to bring him here, and when he arrived he was asleep, so I merged his minion with him, similar to the Sixth Realm Sage did, which is kind of ironic since Naruto is one of his descendants. Tinbeard screamed, what? Well, Nat looked like she just won the lottery. Minato said the sage had 2 sons. He had decided to live in this world with his wife, and have his sons live in the human world to keep an eye on it. His eldest son had become corrupted with the fame, and the glory he had being the son of the world's savior, and he was a glory hog. The sage's youngest son was more humble though, and he treated people with respect, and they wanted to live in peace. Because of this the sage chose his youngest son to lead the human world. He became the first overlord. The eldest son became furious, and then he returned to this world, and got his revenge by killing his father, and absorbing his spiritual energy. He then captured several species of creatures who were loyal to his father, and they used that energy to turn those creatures into what we would later call the Bijuu, and to release them into the human world, so that he could battle them for glory, and the honor, and to become the new savior of the world. Thus he became the first hero. Minato took another sip of water, and said the hero had 2 sons with different women. One became the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, while the other became the ancestor of the Hyuga clan. The Overlord also has 2 sons, and one became the ancestor to the Senju clan, and the other the Uzumaki clan. The Overlord killed the hero, and then the hero's son vowed revenge, and the later killed the Overlord, but then turned on each other, wanting the power of the Overlord for themselves. The son of the Overlord killed them, but, as you can guess, their children wanted revenge, so the Hyuga and the Uchiha rivalry began, as well as the Senju Uchiha rivalry. The Hyuga were smart enough to back out after they saw the Senju, and the Uzumaki were going to stay united, and they did all the way up to the founding of Konoha, and now Naruto is the last of the true Overlord line, and now thanks to me bringing him here, and emerging him he can become what he was meant to be. Hiruzen said that Naruto is a descendant of the Sixth Realm Sage on both his parents' side. Minato blinked and said, what do you mean? Hiruzen said, your father was the Waki Senju, Swan's brother. Your mother was the female genin on his team. She missed the mission he was killed on because she had morning sickness from being pregnant. She died giving birth to you. The only 2 people who knew were Mito Uzumaki Senju, and myself, which is why Whirlpool sent a female to seal the Kyuubi into, and why I kept arranging for you both to be teamed up, and you were part of the team sent to rescue her when she was kidnapped. You both had an arranged marriage, but Mito and I didn't want to tell you, and instead let you fall in love for yourself, which you did. Minato said, how can you be sure who my mother and father were? Hiruzen said, because your mother was my firstborn daughter. Thud. Naruto passed out again, as his mind just took in the info that he received. When Naruto woke again he found himself back in his bed in the castle, and Naruto felt someone rubbing their hand through his head, and they said, Nori, is it you? The female voice said, no son. Naruto's eyes widened before jumping out of bed, and then looking over to see Kushina sitting next to where he had been before, and then he said, Kushina. Kushina said, after you passed out your father used a seal he created to return my soul to my new body. While my soul was inside you I saw everything that happened in your life, son, so I know everything. I'm not the shell of a woman you met earlier. I truly am your mother in every way now. Naruto's eyes widened before they began to get wet, and he said in a scared voice, really, you're telling the truth, right? Kushina said, of course, databing. Before she looked sheepish. Naruto screamed at mom. Before he tackled her into the bed, and hugged her, as he cried into her chest. Kushina patted his back, and whispered, it's alright son, mommy here, and I'm not going anywhere. As she heard him cry into her chest until he fell asleep. Getting out of bed she went to the door where she opened it, and saw Nori standing there, and Kushina narrowed her eyes, and said, I know who you really are, Nori, as does Minato. If you hurt Naruto I'll destroy you. Nori said, I won't hurt him. I'll give you my word. Kushina nodded, and then started to walk away, and then stopped, and said, I want you to tell him the truth before he discovers it on his own. Also he's too young to be a father right now. Nori's eyes got wide hearing Kushina's words before she looked down with a frown on her face, but hearing the last part made her blush, as she looked back up at Kushina who looked over her shoulder, and said, take care of him. Before she walked away. Nori thought I would. As she returned to the room where Naruto was. When Kushina got back to the room where the Sandang, Kaharu, Himaru, Nat, and the Tinbeard were, Himaru said, how many other secrets are you going to hide, Hiruzen? Hiruzen said, more than you can imagine. I expect both of you to take what you learn here to the grave. Naruto is going to prove himself, not because of who he is related to. Minato said, I agree with Grandpa. As he shot Hiruzen a glare. Hiruzen said, like I told Naruto, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, Minato. I can only do my best, and pray that I made the right choice. Kaharu said, something I've been wondering, why did you get that smile on your face when you heard Naruto was the descendant of the sage Nat? Nat said, well, you see, minions all start out with brown skin, and they are called browns. Browns are generally referred to as males because browns are very stupid, and you can't tell the difference in genders then. Browns are abusive to each other to the point they do more damage to each other than an enemy would. Eventually most browns grow to hate being beat on so much. Some decide to hide, as best they can, which causes the browns to look for them, and if they find them, beat them up again, so they try harder, and harder each time to avoid being found or detected until they become master of stealth, though by this point they also quit bathing, so that if they are found the browns won't beat them because they stink so bad. Those who do this turn into what we call greens, and because they have hidden in places that smell bad to help hide them, as well as cause them to stink, they build up an immunity to nearly all poisons. Nat rubbed her head, and said some brown people who try to hide can't stand the smell of becoming green, so they try another approach. Browns are so stupid that they don't know how to swim, and they are afraid to get wet. To avoid being hurt, some browns force themselves to learn to swim, and they keep getting better out of fear that they eventually become what we call blues, who can go through any amount of water, regardless of how dangerous it is. They also learn to attack with spells at long range, so they don't have to get out of water where they could be hurt. Nat popped her knuckles, and said then you have reds. Reds are basically pyromaniacs. They burn themselves playing with fire for the fun of it, until they build up an immunity to fire, and then they like to use magic to make fireballs, and then set things on fire. Because of being burned so much, and becoming immune to fire, their skin color turns red. Last are greys like me. Nat rubbed her neck, and the set greys also start out as browns, but don't like to be hurt, so search out knowledge to learn to avoid, and to detect danger. Because of this we spend so much time inside researching, and reading. Our skin color changes to gray. We are the smartest of all the minions. Minions who live a long life try to make it where they don't have to change into another creature when their human side does. Minions have learned that if they stay by an overlord's tower heart, they can absorb some of the energy the tower heart gives off to extend their lives. Narl, the minion I trained under for a while, is over 3,000 years old by doing this. Minato said I've heard of Narl. She's supposedly the most evil of all the minions. Nat said she is, and that she is deadly smart, as well. In fact, that is how I came to be in the service of Lord Naruto. Narl had discovered that I learned her secret of how she's been around, and in power so long. She was one of the first minions born. I don't know how she got to be in the position she's in, but what I learned is she serves an underlord until he starts to become too independent of her, where she secretly sets him up to be killed by a hero, but making sure he has an heir. She then trains the heir to avenge the fallen overlord, until they get to independent of her, and she repeats the process. When she found out I discovered this, she sent out browns to kill me, and they were chasing me when I found Lord Naruto, but like I said, browns are very stupid. When they got in the presence of Naruto power, they forgot who they were chasing, and what they were supposed to be doing. Since all minions know greys are the smartest, they turn to me for orders, and so I basically recruited them into serving Lord Naruto, instead of Narl Overlord. The reason I was smiling is I knew some of the history Minato told us from my research in the Narl library. Narl is serving a fake overlord while I serve a true overlord, and I know sooner or later my overlord will face hers, and then she will finally get what's coming to her. Before she cackled evilly. Minato thought hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. When Naruto woke again, he found himself with Nori laying beside him, and then he blinked, and then looked at her for several moments, and said yeah, you're definitely Nori. Nori opened her eyes, and said you awakened my lord. Naruto said yeah, you know, you and my mother look a lot alike. Could you have been an Uzumaki? Jiji told me that Uzumaki have special chakra that makes being a Jinchuriki easier. Maybe the reason you were a human sacrifice was because you were an Uzumaki. Nori looked down, and said to Naruto, what do you think about me? Naruto looked confused for a few moments, and then said I like you, Nori. You're very precious to me, and I would do anything to protect you. Nori bit her lip, and said I have a confession to make of sorts, and I'm afraid that you may hate me when it is over. Naruto frowned, and said I'm not sure how many more confessions I can handle, Nori, but I'm here for you. Nori said well, I lied when I said I had no memories of my past. I just was scared of what you would think of me when you learned the truth. Naruto asked, what is the truth? Nori moved her hair to the side showing her pointy ears, and then said remember when you asked me about my ears when we were I told you I didn't know why they were pointy. The real reason is because I'm actually an elf. Not a human. Naruto's eyes widened, and he said wow, so that's how you know how to speak like an elf. Hey, how come you can't use that spell thing you mentioned to teach me to speak elf? If it wasn't for Nad I would still need you to translate everything so I could speak with thin beard and the dwarfs. Nori blushed, and said I told you I had met Kushina before. The reason I met her was because the hero who had taken her was originally after me. He was going to destroy my people, so my father offered me as a sacrifice to save our people. I would become the hero's slave, and he would spare my people. I felt betrayed by my father, and the people who sacrificed me, so I ran. And the hero chased me while running. I ran into Kushina. I couldn't believe how much we looked alike. The hero thought she was me, and they took her while I ran. I later met your father, and he at first thought I was your mother also, but then I told him that I wasn't her. I told him about the hero who I thought was your mother. I later learned about the hero's death at Minato hand, when some of my people found me. They wanted to bring me back like nothing had happened. Like they didn't use me to save themselves. I hated them for it. I turned my back on them, and vowed to myself I would never use my magic again, since it was them who taught me magic. Nori, who still had her head down, said I had discovered Minato and Kushina some time back, and then I began to follow them because I felt I owed a debt to them, since I can only imagine what happened to your mother when she was in that hero's hands. I didn't get too close because I wasn't sure how they would react. I was afraid they would kill me, but then I heard your mom talking about a son. She seemed confused and scared, and I was hidden close by when they performed the ritual that turned you into an overlord, though I didn't know what was going on, and they didn't understand it. I had thought that you were Kushina's son, and that the warlock was going to kill you for power or something, and I felt that I could repay Kushina by saving her son's life. I took you, and ran with you, as fast, and as far as possible I vowed to myself to protect you with my life to pay back Kushina for saving mine. I soon couldn't run anymore, and I decided to rest, and I began to play with your hair to pass the time, and that was when you woke up. Since I didn't know anything about you besides the fact I could feel you were an overlord because of the feel of your power, I acted like I didn't know anything. Nori looked up with a blush on her face, and said, when you defended me against the threat Tinbeard had made, if you have no idea how happy, and the good that made me feel, you had done something my family wouldn't do, and in that moment I fell in love with you, sire. As she looked down, and then said, if you hate me now I understand, and then I'm willing to accept any punishment you deem fit, including my death. Naruto sat there for several minutes seeing Nori looking down, and he slowly reached his hand over, putting it under her chin, and raised her head up, and when their eyes met he said, I don't hate you, in fact I think I might actually love you also. Nori blushed, and Naruto leaned forward, and captured her lips with his. 2 hours later Naruto, and Nori, who now had her hair pulled back in a single ponytail showing the world her ears, entered the room where the others were. Tinbeard gasped, and started to cuss in the dwarf language when he saw Nori's ears, and caused Nori to smirk at him, as Nat blinked before pulling out a scroll from somewhere, and began writing down some of the curses Tinbeard was saying. Kushina smiled, and then gave Nori a nod, causing Nori to blush. Ignoring Tinybeard's reaction, Naruto said, what exactly is going to happen now? Minato said to Naruto, can I speak with you privately for a moment? Naruto looked at Minato while everyone else looked confused, and Naruto said, follow me. As he turned, and Nori started to follow, and Naruto shook his head. After returning to Naruto room, Naruto turned, and punched Minato in the stomach, knocking the air out of him. Minato coughed a moment, and said, I deserve that. Naruto said, you think? In a sarcastic tone. Minato sighed, and said, I know you are angry at me, and if you want to kill me then do it, but promise me that you will look after your mother for me. Naruto glared at Minato, and said, what did you want to talk about? Minato said, I want to know if you trust Hiruzen and the elders. Naruto frowned, and asked, why do you want to know? Minato said, your mother has been using what we created to talk to me in our minds, while we are touching each other. She's told me some about your life, and for what it's worth I'm sorry, but I didn't have a choice. Kyuubi tried to kill you with its claws, and both your mother and I jumped in front of it to shield you from being killed. Because of that we both were going to die, and the Kyuubi would have killed you just to make sure you couldn't be used by someone else to seal him. The only way we could save you was to seal the Kyuubi in you. I didn't speak with Hiruzen, and they told him to have you be seen as a hero. I mostly stayed quiet listening to your mother give you her final words, and burning the image of both you and your mother into my mind, since I thought I would never get to see you again. Naruto bit his lip and said, you still didn't answer my question. Why do you want to know if I trust them? Minato said, Naruto Hiruzen never once told me about him being related to me, or that I had any family. I look back at my life now, and wonder how much of it was created to mold me into the perfect puppet for him and his plans. From hearing your mother speak about your life I fear that he's doing the same thing to you. I think he sees how you are treated here, and now that your mother and I have shown up, he sees there is a chance you could choose to stay here. When I think about Hiruzen I see a Hokage first, and a man second. I believe he will do whatever is best for Konoha instead of his family or friends. Even if you hate me, Naruto, I do love you, and the only thing I want for you and your mother is for you both to be happy and safe. If my death will give you both those, then please enter your mindscape and destroy my tower heart. Naruto closed his eyes and said, no, I don't trust him, and that I've never trusted the other two. I see now just how much he is manipulating me because he made me fear that you would kill me, so when I heard you were here looking for me I ran to him. I can't help but wonder if my graduation the way I did was all a setup. Does Iruka actually see me as me, or is he following orders? Are Tucci and AM being paid to treat me the way they do? I hate it. Minato said, I know I can't help it, but I feel the same way soon. Naruto frowned and said, but what can I do? Minato put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and said, ask yourself this. What is most important to you? What are you willing to do to protect what is important? Are you willing to let yourself be a puppet, or will you take your life in your own hands? Naruto bit his lip, and Minato said, if you will have me, I would be honored to stand by your side, and then give you advice if you want it, but I will never force you to do anything you want to do. You can even ignore my advice. I've spent over 50 years trying to get back to you and your mother. I will do whatever it takes to stay with you both if you will have me. Naruto smiled slightly, and said are you proud of you? Minato said I'm very proud of the young man I see you have become, as well as what you have done, both your failures and your triumphs. Naruto let a tear fall, and said all my life I wanted to know what it was like to hear those words from my father to be held by my mother. You can't imagine how nice it is to have both those things after all these years. Minato said I can imagine it because I longed for them all my life since I was an orphan. Naruto wiped the tears from his eyes, and said I want to protect Nori, and the Nat, and the thin beard, and all the others, even the stupid Browns. Minato said, but what about Konoha? Naruto bit his lip, and said I don't know. I wish I could find out the truth about if those I care for there actually care for me, or if they are being paid or ordered to. Minato said then why don't you? Naruto blinked, and then looked at Minato who said right now Hiruzen, and the elders can control you, and manipulate you because they know about you being an overlord, and everything that has happened here. I can make it where they don't know about all this, so they can't manipulate you with us. Naruto asked how. Minato said I can place a seal on all three that will make them forget everything that has happened in the last 3 days. At their age they will think it is memory loss due to old age. This will allow you to find out who really cares for you in Konoha, and give yourself time to get stronger here without being controlled by them. Naruto said, but how do I know you're not doing the same thing they are? Minato said because you have the final word on everything, as well as all the power. I can advise you, and fight for you, but I wouldn't risk losing my family by doing that. All these years all I could think about was you, and your mother. You were my hope and the guiding light. I would rather die than lose you because you both are precious to me. Naruto, who had been watching Minato, smiled, and then said alright, I want to be mad at you, and that it will take some time for me to completely trust you, but I am willing to give you a chance. When we return to the others, knock them out, and seal them. I'll then have my cage bunch and take them back to Konoha. Then Tinbeard, Nori, Nat Mom, you, and me are all going to sit, and then discuss what should be the next course of action. Minato said thank you son. Naruto smiled, and then Minato pulled Naruto into a headlock, and it began to rub his knuckles into Naruto's scalp, causing Naruto to scream in pain a moment before he was released, and then when Naruto glared at Minato, a smile formed on both their faces, and they both began to laugh, as they exited the room. The sound of laughter was the first thing the others heard when Minato and Naruto returned to the room. Minato walked by Hiruzen, and patted him on the shoulder, as he passed before placing his hands on the back of both elders. The next moment all three dropped to the ground passed out causing everyone to go wide-eyed. Naruto quickly began to explain what happened between Naruto and Minato, and why the three were knocked out, while three cage Bunshin took them back to Konoha. After they were gone, Naruto said now that they are gone, we are going to discuss what our plans for the future are. Minato said to Naruto there is much you don't know about this world. I am sure the others here can back me up on this. Even if we all see you as the leader and respect you, we all know you are young and inexperienced when it comes to things here. Right. As he looked at the others in the room who nodded. Naruto said well sorry for being only 14. Tinbeard said I still can't believe how powerful you are despite your age. Naruto said thanks I think. Minato said right now you have a target on your back because of your age, power, and experience. You're not currently powerful enough to deal with all that is coming. Look at this. As he pulled out a crystal from his pocket and then set it in the center of the table, and the crystal started to glow before the table looked to be replaced with a map. Minato said this is a quest crystal. It records a map that details everywhere you have been with the crystal. Adding several quest crystals together will expand a map, and then turn it into a map room of the world. All these areas are areas that I have been with this crystal. I've secretly placed seals on other people's crystals when I've met them, linking them with mine to update mine, and help expand my map also. Naruto looked at the map, and saw many different color areas, and said what is with all the colors. Minato said those are areas owned by either another overlord, hero, or different races that are not currently allied with anyone. This blue area right here is currently your area Naruto. Including you there are 5 overlords, over 60 heroes, and the over 200 free races that I am aware of. There may be even more that I am not aware of. So far you have only been detected by the Great Wars of Tinbeard tribe here. The other overlords and the heroes are definitely your enemy. They fight each other trying to gain more power for themselves, because they wish to become strong enough to get to the human world, because once there they will be able to gain power quickly, and possibly become powerful enough to take over both worlds. Luckily because there are so many of them they keep cutting each other's power apart, but if one gets their hands on your power it's over. Naruto frowned, and said why. Minato said, you are an actual descendant of the first overlord, as well as a descendant of the king of the Sixth Kingdom. If one of them kills you, then just based on fear alone they will gain power enough to reach the human world. Not to mention if they actually get their hands on your tower heart and drain it of its power. You are currently able to go between worlds and bring others with you because of the power passed down from your ancestors. If one of them gets that power they won't have to worry about gaining more power. They will be able to leave this world instantly. Naruto said then we have to make sure that doesn't happen. Minato said it's not that easy. You are an overlord now. You have a tower heart. Your tower heart can't leave this world. If your tower heart is destroyed, then you die for good. You can't die unless it is destroyed. The tower heart will bring you back to it if you're about to die, and begin to heal you with the power stored in it. This will weaken your overall power that you will have to build back, but it's better than being dead. But with your tower heart here, even if you, or then if someone else gets it, then they could drain it of its power, and they use it for themselves. But there is something else you're forgetting, Kyuubi. Since Minato had explained to Kyuubi, everyone knew about it, and Naruto asked, what does the fox have to do with it? Minato said, Tinbeard told us about why he joined you. We all know that you tapped into Kyuubi power that day. You were angry, and wanted to protect Nori, and that's not a bad thing, but if you became too angry, the Kyuubi could break free. If that happens, both worlds will be destroyed because Kyuubi will be pulled here when you die, since you are bound to it. The Kyuubi will then start absorbing as much energy here from those he kills as he can, or someone will kill it, and then take his power for themselves. The only thing we can do is take the fox out of the equation. Minato looked at Naruto, who asked, what do you mean? Minato said to Naruto, this world is spirit-based. The life force we lose in the human world reforms here into minions, and once minions die, if they are linked to a minion hive, then they will become something else here in this world, based on the amount of life force they were able to gain for themselves when they were minions. Everything in this world is based on life force. What makes overlords different, and the reason they don't die, is their life force is simply absorbed into their tower hearts, which is linked back into them so they don't lose it. Every time someone kills another person here, the life force either escapes and reforms again as another creature, or is absorbed by the creature who killed it, so that the creature who killed it becomes more powerful, so they can become stronger and live longer. Do you understand what I'm saying? We have to remove the fox from the equation so it can't take over you if you get angry. You have to drain the Kyuubi of its life force and claim it as your own. Everyone's eyes widened, and Naruto said, but why me? Minato said, because if the Kyuubi is removed from you and taken by anyone else, then you will die. The only safe way to get rid of the fox completely is for you to do it. Nat said, he's the right sire. The world is a barbaric place where the powerful rule and the weak suffer and die. You are an overlord, and you vowed that you would protect all those who serve you. By destroying this Kyuubi, you will become more powerful and be more able to protect those who serve you. In this world there are only two types of people. Your allies or your enemies. If they're not with you, then they are against you. Naruto closed his eyes and said, I see. Minato said, I'm not telling you to become a cold-blooded killer. I'm telling you though that you need to focus on what's most important to you, and then ask yourself, how far are you willing to go to protect it? Naruto took a deep breath and said, Mom is an ally or enemy. Kushina said, I will stay by your side until either I die or you do soon. I'm not leaving you again. Naruto let out a breath, and then looked at Minato, and said, my family is the most important thing to me. I'll stand by you no matter what. Naruto moved his eyes to Tinbeard, who said, me, and my people are yours, sire. Moving his eyes to Nori, who said, my place is beside you always. Moving to Nat, she said, I am yours to command, sire. Naruto took a deep breath and said, so basically it's us versus the world. Kushina said, I'm afraid soon. Naruto bit his lip and said, I guess then we should do this, but how do we do it? Minato looked at Nat, who said, sire needs a gauntlet made for him with a gem stored in the palm of it. The gauntlet needs to be able to withstand combat, as well as be adjustable, so that it can grow as his hands grow, because the gauntlet will be linked to the tower heart, and if someone were able to get their hands on it would be able to gain access to his majesty power, so the gauntlet must be worn by him pretty much all the time, so someone doesn't sneak in and steal it. After he has his gauntlet, then he has to place it against the tower heart, and then send his energy through the gauntlet into the tower heart. This will calibrate the tower heart and the gem together, sire. Once you have your gauntlet, it might be a good idea to build a minion hive, so that you can start spawning minions for yourself, instead of the few we have here. Naruto said, I thought you said something about a spawning pool before for the Browns. Nat said, well, about that your majesty, you see, as she explained her past, as well as about minions in general like she had the others when Naruto passed out. After she was done, Naruto sighed, and then said, I don't like being lied to by Nat. Next time you purposely lie to me, and then I find out, I will punish you. Nat looked intrigued, and said, really, how, sire? Naruto thought a moment before he smirked, and said, I'll make you cook and clean, as a servant for the Browns for an entire week. Everyone's eyes widened, and the Nat said, sire, you're evil, I like it. Naruto sighed, and said, the more I learn about this place, the more I think I'm going to go crazy. Minato said, we're all crazy, son. Women drive us that way. Every woman in the room glared at him, and Naruto said, ladies, enjoy punishing him. Tinbeard, can you have one of the smiths begin making me a gauntlet like Nat specified? Tinbeard said, of course, though I will need you to come for a fitting to make sure that when it's first made it will meet specifications. Naruto said, then let's do that. Watching my father get kicked in the nuts loses its enjoyment after the first couple of kicks. Tinbeard said, right this way, sire. As he leads Naruto away, both ignoring Minato's moans of pain behind them. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.